In the vast black sea of space, Earth had been quiet for over a century. It wasn't the silence of peace, nor the calm of surrender. It was the silence of preparation. After the Silence Wars, when Earth had nearly been wiped from the galactic map, humanity turned inward. The once bustling diplomatic embassies were closed. Earth withdrew from trade routes and shut down all long-range transmissions. Alien empires called them broken, ruined, forgotten. But deep under Earth's surface and hidden among asteroids and distant systems, something was growing. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the ESS Vindicator, Earth's most advanced stealth warship. From her vantage point just outside the orbit of Zinthra, a key border planet of the Zalari Dominion, she watched the stars in silence. Her ship was cloaked, undetectable even to the most advanced sensors. Around her, a formation of similar stealth ships hovered in the shadows, silent, invisible, and waiting. Alara was 34, with sharp eyes and a stillness that unnerved even her own crew. She was born during Earth's silence. She never knew the old days of open skies and friendly alien trade. Her world was built on memory, recovery, and purpose. Her parents were engineers who helped design the Silent Fleet. They never told bedtime stories of heroes, only of survival, and of the vow Earth had made. We will not be caught unprepared again. Status, she asked, her voice calm and controlled. Cloak integrity at 100%. Passive scans show increased Zalari fleet activity in orbit around Zinthra, her tactical officer replied. Alara nodded. No surprise there. The Zalari were always watching, always pressing outward. They were one of the oldest alien empires, and over the past few decades, they had swallowed up smaller systems with little resistance. Earth's silence had made it an easy target, or so they thought. Then it came. A transmission, loud and clear, echoing through every known channel in the galaxy. Zalari ships broadcast it from their flagships. The message was translated into every major language. This message is for the people of Earth, said a deep, cold voice. You have remained silent, but your time is over. Surrender within 7 solar cycles, or be destroyed. Your world will be annexed. Your people will be spared if you comply. Resist, and your silence will become permanent. The voice belonged to High Regent Vortak, ruler of the Zalari Dominion. To most alien races, he was a figure of power and order. To humans, he was a warning from the stars, arrogant, relentless, and cruel beneath a layer of diplomacy. Alara watched the message play again on the viewscreen. Her crew stood silent behind her. The threat wasn't unexpected. Intelligence had been tracking Zalari fleet buildups for months. Still, hearing the ultimatum out loud made the coming days feel real. Commander Lin, she said, turning to her second-in-command, send a tight beam report to Central Command. No response needed. Confirm Zalari broadcast and maintain stealth. Yes, Captain. Alara clasped her hands behind her back. Outside the ship's hull, space was cold and empty. But it would not remain so for long. This was the opening move. Vortak wanted Earth to kneel, to show itself, to confirm the illusion of weakness. But Alara knew the truth. Earth had not stayed silent because it was afraid. Earth had waited because it was smart. The fleet was ready. Across hidden bases, on cloaked ships like the Vindicator, in deep space docks orbiting nameless moons, humanity's defenses stood poised. Not just to survive, but to prove something. She turned her gaze toward the distant speck of Zinthra, where Zalari ships gathered like vultures around a carcass they thought was already dead. Let them come, she said softly. Let them believe we're still hiding. The stars did not answer. But Alara didn't need them to. She knew the truth. The time for silence was almost over. The galaxy was awake now. After the Zalari broadcast, news of the ultimatum spread like a solar flare through the known systems. Alien governments, traders, smugglers, and diplomats all turned their attention back to a world they had ignored for over a century, Earth. Most believed the end was near. Earth had no known colonies beyond its solar system. It had no standing presence in galactic councils, no trade fleets, no ambassadors, and worst of all, no allies. In the eyes of the galaxy, Earth was quiet because it was weak. But aboard the ESS Vindicator, floating silently beyond the edge of Zalari space, Captain Alara Voss knew better. Message from Central Command received, Commander Lin said from his station. No reply. Silent protocol remains in effect. Good, Alara replied. She sat in her command chair, eyes fixed on the void ahead. The bridge was quiet. No flashing lights. No alarms. Every system was built to operate in stealth. Information was delivered through soft audio cues and visual overlays. The crew moved calmly, trained in silence just as much as tactics. Outside, hundreds of similar ships waited in hidden formations, some in asteroid belts, others near dead moons or cloaked in the magnetic shadows of gas giants. For decades, Earth had invested its limited resources into one thing, not being seen until the moment mattered. And that moment was drawing closer. "We're receiving external chatter," said Communications Officer Thalen. "Non-human networks. A lot of speculation. Some think we'll surrender. Others are already calling Earth lost." Alara didn't answer. She stood and walked to the large viewport at the front of the bridge. It was not a screen. This was real glass, reinforced against space pressure, offering a raw view of the stars. She remembered staring up at the sky as a child, asking her father why they never reached out like in the old stories. "Because no one comes to help the weak," he had said. "And no one fears the loud. But they do fear the unknown." She understood that now. The silence wasn't a shameful retreat. It was a strategy. Earth had become the question mark in every alien report. What were they building? Were they building anything at all? Could they even survive? Now they would find out. "Show me Zenthra," she said. The view shifted to a long-range tactical display. The planet Zenthra was surrounded by Zalari warships. There were 10 heavy cruisers, several support vessels, and a dreadnought-class command ship, the VZ Harrow, known for crushing planetary resistances. It floated above the planet like a blade ready to fall. Commander Lin studied the data. He's positioning them for intimidation. They're not expecting a fight. No defensive lines. They believe they already won. Alara's mouth tightened. "He's baiting us, hoping we show ourselves early. Will we? No. We wait." She turned away from the display and motioned for the rest of the bridge crew to gather. "Listen closely," she began. "Vortak expects fear. He expects us to scatter or to beg for terms. He doesn't know what we've built. He doesn't even believe we've built anything." She looked each of them in the eye. "In 7 days, he'll find out exactly how wrong he is." Her words were simple, but in the quiet, they carried weight. Later, in her private quarters, Alara studied an old file, a personal log from her mother, one of the engineers who helped design the first cloaking array. Her mother's voice played in a soft tone. "We're not trying to conquer the stars, Alara. We're trying to make sure they don't swallow us again. One day, the time will come when we step forward, when we reveal what we've done. On that day, don't blink. Don't falter. Make them remember why we were silent." Alara closed the log and sat back. The ship hummed softly around her. She felt the power under her feet, not just the engines, not just the weapons, but the will of an entire species. Across the galaxy, screens still buzzed with debates and guesses. Was Earth preparing to surrender? Were they stalling? Did they even still have a military? Alara smiled faintly. Let them wonder. Let them mock. She keyed a command into her console. A single order was sent across the silent fleet. Hold positions. Maintain cloak. Countdown active. In 7 days, silence would no longer protect them. But in 7 days, silence would become their sharpest weapon. 3 days remained. The deadline was closing in, and the galaxy held its breath. The Zalari Dominion's ultimatum hung like a storm cloud over Earth. News channels across alien systems replayed the threat, dissected it, mocked Earth's silence, and predicted its end. Still, there was no answer from Earth. No surrender. No defense. No sound at all. And that silence was beginning to worry even the loudest voices. In orbit around the planet Zenthra, High Regent Vortak stood inside the command chamber of the VZ Harrow, his massive flagship. From here, he had overseen the conquest of 3 outer systems in the past decade. The Harrow was a symbol of fear and precision, sharp-edged, cold, and merciless. Vortak watched a tactical display as his fleet repositioned itself in slow, deliberate movements. Around him, Zalari officers barked data reports and fleet logistics. All routine, all under control. Yet something felt incomplete. Status on Earth's reply, he asked without turning. A Zalari aide bowed. Still nothing, High Regent. No transmissions. No troop movements. The planet remained sealed. Vortak narrowed his violet eyes. And their fleet? Still no sign of one, High Regent. Their only visible forces are orbital defense platforms and civilian satellites, all within expected parameters. Vortak leaned closer to the display. They bluff well, for a broken species. He didn't trust the silence, not completely. But he didn't fear it either. Earth had remained out of galactic affairs for too long. It had no colonies, no ambassadors, no known military engagements in over a century. The Dominion's intelligence showed a planet stuck in recovery, isolated and behind the curve. But even so, Vorthak had not made this move lightly. He didn't attack because Earth was weak. He did it because Earth was unknown, and unknowns were dangerous. He tapped the edge of the console. Deploy 2 scout wings to their outer system. Passive scans only. Don't provoke. Yes, High Regent. Far beyond Zenthra, the ESS Vindicator remained cloaked, motionless in deep orbit. Inside, Captain Alara Voss received the scout deployment report within minutes. Earth's long-range surveillance grid, rebuilt in secret, was more advanced than even the Zalari suspected. She stood in the war room with Commander Lin, watching a digital projection of the scout wings moving through Earth's outer defenses. They're sniffing, Lin said. Trying to measure our heartbeat. Let them, Alara replied. Just don't let them get too close. The Vindicator's sensors tracked every ship's vector, speed, and signal signature. Behind the scenes, Earth stealth satellites scrambled their readings, creating echoes and ghost signals. To the Zalari scouts, it would look like scattered debris and harmless old stations. But the real power was hidden deeper, far below. Alara, Lin said quietly, what if they call our bluff? She looked at him. Then we show them it was never a bluff. Down on Earth, life continued in quiet readiness. Most of the population wasn't even aware how close they were to war. That was the plan. The Council believed fear weakened people more than truth. Only the highest levels of military command knew what was coming. Only a handful had clearance to know about the fleet. Hidden underground in Earth's northern hemisphere, the Council of Command met in a secure vault known as the Core Chamber. 12 officials monitored every step of the Zalari movement and relayed silent orders to the cloaked human fleet scattered across space. Counselor Yara Thorne stood at the head of the chamber. They're positioning more ships around Zenthra, she said. Our time grows short. One of the others, a former admiral, frowned. We should have responded by now. The galaxy thinks we're paralyzed. That's exactly what they're supposed to think, Thorne said calmly. Or they'll believe we're stalling because we have nothing to show. Thorne turned toward the darkened center of the chamber, where a holographic display showed the full fleet's position. Hundreds of stealth ships, cruisers, war carriers, and tactical drones, all still cloaked. Already. She spoke simply. Let them believe what they want. They'll learn the truth soon enough. Back aboard the Vindicator, Alara stood alone in her quarters. The room was quiet, Spartan, but peaceful. She pulled up a map of the known galaxy, dots representing trade routes, empires, and borders. Earth was barely a speck. She zoomed in on the Sol system, then further, until Earth filled the screen. Green, blue, alive. Still here. Not for long, if the Zalari had their way. But she didn't feel fear. She felt focus. And something else, responsibility. Her fingers tapped the console as she drafted a silent update to all fleet captains. Day 4. Maintain cloak. Confirm position. Hold fire. Fleet sync test at 0600. Stand by. She paused, then added. 3 days left. Remember who we are. On Zenthra, Vorthak stared out the viewport of the Harrow. Somewhere out there in the cold was the truth. Was Earth hiding a secret? Or had it truly become a ghost of its past? He exhaled slowly. Either way, he would find out in 72 hours. The final day began like all the others, silent. No alarms. No war cries. No declarations of power. Just the steady hum of systems and the quiet tension of a fleet waiting in the dark. Aboard the ESS Vindicator, Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, her arms crossed behind her back, her gaze fixed on the stars. The countdown timer displayed a simple message in the corner of the main screen. 12 hours until Ultimatum expires. Commander Lin approached quietly. Fleet reports full readiness. All ships in final positions. No breaches in stealth. Alara gave a slight nod. Her jaw was tight, but her voice stayed calm. Any response from the Zalari? They're moving more ships into high orbit over Zenthra. It looks like a victory formation. Let them have it, she said. Outside, nothing looked different. The Vindicator remained invisible, just one piece of a massive human force stretching silently across nearby systems. Each ship cloaked, each weapon charged, each crew waiting for a single word. For a moment, Alara allowed herself a breath. Her heart was steady, but the weight of responsibility pressed down on her like gravity. She wasn't just commanding a ship, she was holding the line between survival and extinction. Have they issued a final warning? She asked. Not yet. But we intercepted a coded burst transmission from the VZ Harrow. Based on the pattern, they're preparing for a full assault. They expect us to remain silent until the end. Alara almost smiled. Good. That meant the illusion was still intact. On Earth, in the core chamber, The Council of Command met in absolute silence. All lights were dimmed. Every screen showed red banners flashing across the outer rim of Earth's solar system. Zalari units in strike formation. Counselor Yara Thorne stood at the center table, arms resting on the cold metal. 7 hours left, she said. A younger counselor spoke, voice barely above a whisper. We've stalled long enough. If we delay any further, we risk civilian panic and planetary breach. Thorne looked across the room. Is the fleet in position? All captains report green across the board. Then prepare the reveal order, she said. Hold for Alara's signal. We let her lead. The galaxy must see her first. In orbit above Zenthra, High Regent Vorthak stood tall inside the bridge of the VZ Harrow. He wore full ceremonial armor, sharp and gleaming black, with thin gold streaks along the shoulders. The final message had already been recorded. It would be transmitted across all known frequencies. Begin playback, he said. The message echoed throughout the ship and to the surrounding fleet. To the people of Earth, your silence has been heard. It is your final answer. Now, by law of the Dominion, your world will be absorbed. Your cities will remain, but under new banners. Your leaders will be stripped of title. Your orbitals will be dismantled. Any resistance will be answered with fire. Vorthak turned to his command staff. Prepare to strike. Yes, High Regent. The fleet began to shift. Engines powered up. Targeting systems locked. Weapons armed. On the Vindicator, Alara stood motionless, watching the moment unfold. They're powering weapons, Lynn reported. Final approach expected within the hour. Alara nodded once, then spoke, her voice clear and steady. Send the signal. Lynn hesitated, then tapped the secure command key. Across the human fleet, hundreds of ships received the same 2 words. Uncloak. Hold. And for the first time in over a century, Earth's voice returned, not through words, but through presence. It began with a ripple. One by one, dark shapes emerged from the void, huge cruisers, stealth frigates, dreadnoughts with sleek black hulls and glowing red insignias. The Vindicator led the formation, its weapons bristling, its engines glowing with quiet menace. On every galactic channel, across every major system, news feeds exploded with live images. Earth fleet decloaks near Zenthra. Unknown human warships. Where were they hiding? Earth speaks without saying a word. The Zalari fleet froze. Inside the VZ Harrow, Vorthak stared at the tactical screen in disbelief. How did we not see them? High Regent, his weapons officer stammered. We're surrounded. Vorthak's expression hardened. Open a channel. On the Vindicator, the screen blinked. A live feed from the Harrow appeared, and Vorthak's face filled the bridge. Captain, he said, voice low, this is a violation of protocol. You have no authority to enter our space with armed ships. Earth has... Alara interrupted him, voice firm and calm. You gave us a deadline. We let you finish it. Vorthak's eyes narrowed. You think this will save your planet? Alara stepped forward. We didn't come to beg. We came to remind you. Earth never surrendered. We waited. We listened. And now, we're done being quiet. Vorthak's face twitched. You dare threaten the Dominion? I don't need to threaten you, she said. You're already surrounded. If you fire first, we will end you. If you leave now, we'll consider this over. Vorthak stood silent. Around him, his officers looked shaken. The screen showed human ships in perfect formation, disciplined, prepared, and more advanced than their intelligence had ever suggested. One wrong move, and they would be ashes. He clenched his fists. This isn't over. Then the screen went dark. Aboard the Vindicator, Commander Lin turned to Alara. What now? We hold, she said. We show them we're not afraid. We show the galaxy what Earth has become. Outside, the human fleet hovered in silence, like shadows, like ghosts returned from the past. Earth was no longer silent. It was watching. The galaxy had seen many wars. It had witnessed empires rise and fall, planets vanish in fire, and rulers drown in their own ambition. But what it had never seen, what no one expected, was Earth returning in silence, then surrounding the most feared fleet in the quadrant without firing a single shot. The human fleet had decloaked less than an hour ago. Now, across every known star system, live feeds streamed images of massive Earth warships hovering above Zenthra in perfect formation. Each ship carried no flashy markings, no bright banners, only matte black armor, deep red insignias, and the unmistakable calm of preparation. In the heart of that formation was the ESS Vindicator, silent and still. Inside, Captain Alara Voss stood like a statue, her eyes fixed on the tactical screen as it showed the full layout of the confrontation. Zalari's ships remained in place, shaken, surrounded, and outmatched in position. Dozens of Earth vessels had emerged from stealth in all directions. They weren't just nearby. They were everywhere. Commander Lin stepped up beside her. Zalari fleet holding position. No new movement. Their weapons are still hot, but they haven't fired. Good, Alara said. Keep it that way. The bridge crew worked without speaking unless needed. Every officer knew what was at stake. One mistake could start a war that no one would walk away from. Across the stars, in control rooms and war rooms of other empires, leaders watched and whispered. Where did Earth get that fleet? How long were they building? How did we not see it? The truth was simple. No one paid attention to silence. And now, silence had answered. Inside the command bridge of the VZ Harrow, High Regent Vortak paced in slow, tight circles. His sharp boots clicked against the polished floor. Behind him, his officers stood at full alert, waiting for an order he hadn't yet given. Status of the humans? He asked. Unchanged. Their formation remains stable. No aggression. Vortak scowled. They expect us to back down. They want fear without war. They think this is enough. He looked out through the large viewport. Earth ships floated beyond the edge of the planet, like dark birds in a sky they now owned. The fear in his crew was clear, but Vortak refused to let it show on his own face. They're bluffing, he said. No force builds in secret this long unless they fear exposure. They're counting on surprise. His advisor, a tall Zalari tactician, shifted uncomfortably. High Regent, with respect, they've already won the surprise. Any move now may cost us the fleet. Silence. Vortak stared at the display. He had never faced an enemy who waited so calmly. No demands. No bluster. Only presence. It was unnerving. Back on Earth, the Council of Command watched from the core chamber. Dozens of holograms showed the standoff in real time. Military analysts and AI prediction models constantly updated potential outcomes. The Zalari are stalling, one counselor said. They expected us to panic, said Counselor Yarathorn. Now they're the ones hesitating. A general nodded. They know we won't fire first. That's what keeps them from retreating. Thorn turned to the communications operator. Has Captain Voss sent her final signal? Not yet. She's waiting for the right moment. Thorn smiled faintly. She knows what she's doing. Aboard the Vindicator, Alara Voss reviewed her final orders. Her fleet was at full readiness. Her finger hovered over a command key, one that, if pressed, would begin the attack. But she didn't press it. Instead, she opened a direct channel to the VZ Harrow. Vortak's face appeared again, slightly more strained than before. Captain Voss, he said, attempting a confident tone. Still hiding behind silence? No, she replied. I think you're starting to understand it now. He narrowed his eyes. You have a few ships and tricks. But the Dominion has strength, resources, numbers. You think this scare tactic will last? It only needs to last long enough, she said. You gave us 7 days to respond. We responded. You threatened Earth with fire. We surrounded your fire with shadows. You told us to kneel. We stood without saying a word. She leaned forward slightly. You've made your move. Now make your choice. The channel ended. For the next several minutes, nothing moved. Then, one by one, Zalari ships began shifting formation. On the tactical screen, Commander Lin's eyes widened. They're turning. Alara watched. Retreat. Not full withdrawal, but yes. They're backing down. Standing orders still in place. No shots fired. She nodded once. Good. That's the outcome we wanted. On the larger display, the VZ Harrow was the last to turn. Slowly, heavily, it rotated its hull away from Earth's direction and began to fall back toward deeper Dominion space. A message blinked across all channels. The Dominion recognizes Earth's readiness. No further action will be taken at this time. Consider this matter concluded. The message was cold, but everyone knew what it really meant. The Zalari had backed down. The silence that followed was different. Not the heavy silence of fear, but the deep quiet of respect. Across the human fleet, cheers erupted behind closed bulkheads. Crews embraced. Captains saluted. Engineers leaned back in their chairs with long-held sighs. Earth had not only survived, it had stood tall. Commander Lin exhaled slowly. We did it. Alara allowed herself the smallest smile. No, they did it. Earth did it. He looked at her. What now? Now we show them who we really are, she said. Not ghosts. Not prey. But presence. Hours later, the fleet began to recloak, one ship at a time. The darkness returned to stillness. But this time, the galaxy remembered what had stood there. A message was sent from the Vindicator to Earth, and from Earth to every major power across known space. We are not at war. We are not here to conquer. But we will never be overlooked again. Earth stands ready. Earth is watching. The message had no signature, no demand, no return address. Just a name. Earth. The battle never came, but the war was still won. In the hours after the Zalari fleet withdrew from Zinthra, the galaxy trembled with a new awareness. Earth was no longer a shadow. It was a presence. Its silence had not been weakness. It had been waiting. Across thousands of star systems, the footage of Earth's cloaked fleet decloaking around the Dominion forces played on loop. Galactic news streams exploded with debate, praise, suspicion, and shock. No one had predicted it. No one had known. Earth had moved in complete darkness for decades, and now its light was everywhere. In the command chamber of the ESS Vindicator, the bridge was calm. No flashing red alerts. No orders shouted across the deck. Captain Alara Voss stood by the viewport, watching the last Zalari vessel vanish from the long-range scanners. The space above Zinthra was empty again, but it was not the same. "Status report," she said softly. Commander Lin, seated behind her, replied, "All Zalari ships have cleared the system. No pursuit. No hostile signals. In the fleet, all ships recloaked. Damage, 0. Losses, 0. Alara nodded. "Send a final coded report to command. Phrase it simply, engagement avoided. Standoff successful. Fleet ready for return operations." Lin turned to her. "You really think this is over?" "No," she said. "But we've just begun something bigger." She turned away from the viewport and faced her crew. For the first time since the mission began, there was a sense of relief in the air, still quiet, but lighter somehow. The tension that had gripped every face now gave way to something else: pride. Alara addressed them without stepping onto any podium or activating any amplifier. Her voice alone was enough. "We were never meant to start a war. We were meant to end a pattern of being overlooked, ignored, treated like prey. That ends today." No one applauded. No one shouted. But the silence that followed carried weight: respect, belief, unity. Back on Earth, the Council of Command received Alara's report. The core chamber was quiet as it played through one final time. Counselor Yara Thorne stood slowly and looked around the table. "For over a century, we were ghosts," she said. "Now the galaxy sees us. That changes everything. Trade, diplomacy, defense. We can't stay in the dark anymore." One counselor asked, "Do we reveal the full strength of the fleet?" Thorne shook her head. "No. Let them keep guessing. But let them know this: Earth has returned." In the following days, messages began arriving. Not from the Zalari Dominion, who remained silent and embarrassed, but from other races. Curious envoys. Concerned merchants. Quiet allies who had long feared the Dominion, but never dared to speak. Now they reached out. They sent questions. Proposals. Invitations. Earth was no longer alone. On the Vindicator, the stars rolled gently across the view as the ship began its long journey home. The crew had settled into normal routines. Systems cooled. Weapons powered down. The mission was complete. Alara sat alone in her quarters, reading through reports and reviewing logs. But one message caught her eye. A short private note from Earth's command. "You did more than defend Earth. You gave us back our voice." She stared at the message for a long time. A voice. Yes, that's what this had always been about. Not domination, not fear, but the right to speak and be heard. She closed the message, stood, and walked to the small window. The stars stretched endlessly before her. A voice among stars. Not shouting, not begging, just speaking clearly, calmly, and without fear. In a distant sector, a small alien vessel passed through open space. Its pilot glanced at the long-range scanner, saw a brief flicker of an unknown reading, and frowned. "What was that?" his co-pilot asked. "I don't know. Might have been a ghost signal." They both looked at the reading again, then decided to leave it alone. Because now, everyone knew. If the stars were silent, Earth was listening.